Guys, the Pac-12 being unable to find a television partner is horrible for the league's perception. The damage to the school's brands only gets worse as this drags on. Schools will jump ship soon.
Yeah, but I don't know.
But we've heard that. And, Chris, thank you for the super chat. We always appreciate it. You do a lot of those with us, and thank you to anybody that does. But, I mean, if it's lingered up to this point, what's the difference in waiting another month? Is it because you want to see what the deal is, or is it because it was nice to have somebody flirting with you and you kind of like the attention, but in the end you don't want to go anywhere? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I just know that I can't wait for it to get to the end game so everybody can maybe move on and focus on football.
I'm still stuck on this Group of 6 question because Tulane lost 2 games last year. So you could lose 2 games as Boise State.
Well, the Group of 5 has a place at the table.
Right.
Yeah,
so like that gives them more wiggle room than like if you're just an independent trying to get one of those last spots. So yeah, you could lose 2 games at Boise because Tulane did that last year. Fresno State back in 18-19, but most teams in that position have been 0 or 1 loss teams. So let's stick with the lose 1 mulligan, and then after that, you're kind of playing with fire.
If they beat Washington and UCF, then they can probably blow a tire against somebody, right?
That's what depends on who.
Yeah, like Mexico, are we talking about are we talking about a puncture that's easily replaceable, or are we talking about like rip the tire apart?
The one you had. The one I had to get a new tire.
Well, so did I.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, if they do that, then no, they're not in. So, yeah, I mean, thanks for the question. It's interesting to bog down in the records. But, yeah, I wouldn't want to risk more than 1 loss, although Tulane, 2 losses last year. Troy, UTSA, we're all right there in that mix with 2 losses. But, yeah, 1's kind of the feel-safe zone. Anything less and you're in trouble. But to that question, I don't believe anybody's getting ready to jump ship. I feel like if you've waited this long, why would you now do that? And I understand 6 months ago you can rewind this show and there's probably there's somebody getting ready to jump ship soon, and guess what? Nobody's jumped ship, and a deal back then seemed close, and it clearly wasn't close. So I do think there's got to be a little bit of like tapping of the feet, like, all right, like what does close mean? Like I would almost feel like, are we kind of getting lied to or drug along here? But I also don't know what they know behind the scenes, right? So from the outsider's perspective, it might seem like they're getting toyed with, and George Kliavkoff's just dangling this carrot in front of them that's not going to lead them anywhere good. But they've come this far, so why now at the 99th hour, or whatever? The deadline's here, and not really there's a deadline, but it feels that way. You're not going to jump at this point after all of the time you spent waiting and all of that. I do wonder like how much longer you can go before that becomes a legitimate concern. I just don't worry about that right this very moment. Those teams saying, all right, that's it, we can't do it anymore. I feel like there's still some more waiting to go. That's just my opinion. And I don't think that anybody's going to, cut ahead and be like, we got to go to the Big 12 now. I don't think that that's so secure of a future that it makes sense to bolt after waiting this long. That's just my perspective.
We will hear from Mark Ziegler and what happened with the Mountain West Conference in San Diego State and what else he's learned, if anything, about they got together and worked it out earlier this week. The conference did. San Diego State is locked back in until they're not. But they also will get the $6.6 million they are supposed to get because there's no exit fee for that to go up against.
I do think for the Pac-2, their brand could recoup a lot of that damage from the offseason and however damaged you think that they are by going and having a great year on the gridiron. And they certainly seem to have a couple teams that are playoff caliber. They have a boatload of quarterbacks that could be in the Heisman discussion, including the reigning winner, who's looking to be the first guy and the only guy since Archie Griffin to win back-to-back. So there will be a lot of eyes on Caleb Williams and SoCal. So I think they've got some interesting storylines. I mean, I'm not like obsessed with everything quarterback there, but there are a lot of interesting stories, and there are enough to make this season, especially as we preview it, really interesting until we see like the warts and all of that come up. So I think they could actually just go out and have a great year, maybe win another Heisman, and even if it's the team that's leaving, who cares? It's still going to be the Pac-12 that's getting the benefit of that in the moment, and maybe even have a playoff team. And depending on how that deal looks, I mean, who's to say it's going to look all that bad? But yes, PR-wise, there's no debating that they've suffered some hits, but I don't think they're hits that they can't recover from. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like this is, in the moment it sucks and it looks ugly, but the right TV deal or the right run by a certain team, and they could be all the rage, and everybody could be talking about the on-the-field stuff and not give two you know what's about the cable deal that's on the table.
Look, if especially like say it's Oregon, say Bo Nix gets Oregon just on fire, and Oregon and USC are playing for the conference title, and Oregon wins it and it's in the playoff, like you're gonna forget like, oh, are they going to be on Fox next year or not?
Right,
you know?
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can't wait for those moments when we're worried about wins and losses rather than that. But I don't think that's ever going to stop, no matter what the Pac-12 eventually does. We have to break. Go ahead.
It's not ever going to stop until there's a deal. You're absolutely right. And I don't think that there's zero reason for concern, but I just think as far as like the public perception, I think that we're talking about a very niche group of people that are following it this closely. And we all are entertained by it, but I think for like the overwhelming majority of folks out there, it's not something that's primarily on their radar, right? And that if you were to ask them about the Pac-12, I don't know that the first thing they think of is college realignment and the throes of what they've gone through these last few months. So that's easily repairable by just going out and winning, because winning cures everything, no matter what the story really is most of the